In the annals of American military history, the Tuskegee Airmen stand as a symbol of courage, excellence, and perseverance. These pioneering African-American pilots, navigators, and support personnel shattered racial barriers during World War II, proving beyond doubt that black men could serve with distinction in the most elite branches of the armed forces. Yet behind their celebrated legacy lies a deeper, more complex story, one marked by systemic discrimination, institutional sabotage, and a decades-long struggle for recognition. The secrets of the Tuskegee Airmen's experience with discrimination reveal not only the resilience of these men, but also the entrenched racism that permeated the U.S. military and government during the 20th century. The Tuskegee Airmen were born out of necessity and resistance in the late 1930s and early 1940s. As war loomed in Europe and Asia, African-American leaders and civil rights organizations pressured the U.S. government to allow black men to train as military pilots. Until then, the Army Air Corps had excluded African Americans from aviation roles, citing racist beliefs about their intelligence, coordination, and courage. The War Department maintained that black men were unfit for combat aviation, a view supported by pseudoscientific studies and military tradition. It was only through relentless advocacy, including lobbying by the NAACP and influential figures like a Philip Randolph, that the government relented and established a segregated training program at Tuskegee Institute in Alabama. Even the creation of the Tuskegee program was steeped in discrimination. The Army Air Corps chose Tuskegee not because it was the best location, but because it was a historically black institution in the Deep South, far from the centers of military power and scrutiny. The program was designed to fail. Facilities were inadequate, equipment was outdated, and instructors were often hostile or indifferent. The selection criteria for cadets were deliberately stringent, requiring higher educational and physical standards than those imposed on white trainees. The goal was to limit the number of successful graduates and reinforce the narrative that African Americans were incapable of mastering aviation. Despite these obstacles, the Tuskegee Airmen, under the leadership of Chief Flight Instructor Charles Chief Anderson and other dedicated staff, the program produced nearly 1,000 pilots who would go on to serve in combat roles. Their performance in Europe was exemplary. The 332nd Fighter Group, known for its distinctive red-tailed aircraft, flew escort missions for bombers and earned a reputation for protecting their charges with unmatched discipline and skill. They were credited with shooting down enemy aircraft, completing hundreds of missions, and earning numerous commendations. Yet their achievements were often ignored or downplayed by military leadership. One of the most insidious forms of discrimination faced by the Tuskegee Airmen was the denial of recognition and promotion. Despite their combat record, many black pilots were passed over for advancement, relegated to support roles, or assigned to non-combat duties. White officers routinely questioned their competence and undermined their authority. The airmen were excluded from officers' clubs, denied access to recreational facilities, and subjected to constant surveillance. Their units were segregated, and their contributions were omitted from official reports and histories. The Freeman Field Mutiny of 1945 exemplifies the institutional racism that plagued the Tuskegee Airmen. At Freeman Field in Indiana, commanders issued an order segregating the officers' clubs, requiring black officers to sign a statement affirming their acceptance of the discriminatory policy. More than 100 Tuskegee Airmen refused to comply, staging a peaceful protest against the order. They were arrested, court-martialed, and threatened with dishonorable discharge. The incident was a pivotal moment in the struggle for civil rights within the military, highlighting the airmen's commitment not only to their country, but to justice and equality. Decades later, President Bill Clinton would pardon the men involved, acknowledging the injustice they had endured. The discrimination extended beyond the battlefield and into the realm of public perception. Media coverage of the Tuskegee Airmen was limited, and their accomplishments were often overshadowed by white units. Military historians and official publications omitted their contributions, reinforcing the myth that African Americans had played a marginal role in the war effort. It was only through the efforts of black newspapers, community organizations, and a few sympathetic journalists that their story began to reach a wider audience. Even after the war, the Tuskegee Airmen faced systemic barriers. Many returned home expecting to continue their aviation careers, only to find that commercial airlines and aviation companies refused to hire black pilots. The Federal Aviation Administration and other regulatory bodies maintained discriminatory hiring practices, effectively shutting the airmen out of the industry they had helped to legitimize. Some found work in other fields, while others continued to fight for integration and recognition. The airmen's struggle for justice did not end with the war. In the decades that followed, they became active in the civil rights movement, using their experience to advocate for desegregation and equal opportunity. Their legacy influenced the integration of the armed forces, culminating in President Harry Truman's Executive Order 9981 in 1948, which mandated the desegregation of the military. Yet even this milestone was met with resistance, and full integration took years to achieve. The secrets of the Tuskegee Airmen's discrimination are not confined to the past. They reveal a pattern of institutional racism that continues to shape American society. The deliberate efforts to sabotage their training, deny their achievements, and exclude them from post-war opportunities reflect a broader system of racial oppression. Their story challenges the narrative of American exceptionalism and forces a reckoning with the contradictions of a nation that professes equality while practicing exclusion. In recent years, efforts have been made to honor the Tuskegee Airmen and preserve their legacy. Museums, documentaries, and educational programs have brought their story to new generations. The Tuskegee Airmen National Historic Site at Moton Field commemorates their achievements and serves as a reminder of their struggle. In 2007, surviving members of the group were awarded the Congressional Gold Medal, one of the highest civilian honors in the United States. These gestures, while meaningful, cannot erase the decades of discrimination they endured. The airmen themselves have spoken candidly about their experiences. Many described the pain of being treated as second-class citizens despite risking their lives for their country. They recalled the humiliation of being denied entry to officers' clubs, the frustration of being passed over for promotion, and the anger of seeing their accomplishments ignored. Yet they also expressed pride in their service and hope for the future. Their resilience, dignity, and commitment to excellence remain an inspiration. The story of the Tuskegee Airmen is not just about aviation it's about the fight for dignity, recognition, and justice. It is a testament to the power of perseverance in the face of systemic oppression. Their legacy challenges us to confront the realities of discrimination and to honor those who have fought to overcome it. The secrets of their struggle reveal the depth of institutional racism and the courage required to dismantle it. As we reflect on the Tuskegee Airmen's journey, we must also consider the broader implications for military and civilian institutions. Their experience underscores the importance of accountability, transparency, and inclusion. It reminds us that progress is not inevitable, it must be fought for, defended, and sustained. The Airmen's story is a call to action, urging us to build a society that recognizes and values the contributions of all its members. The discrimination faced by the Tuskegee Airmen was not an anomaly, it was a reflection of the systemic racism embedded in American life. Their ability to rise above it, to excel despite it, and to demand justice in its wake is a powerful lesson. It teaches us that excellence alone is not enough to overcome prejudice, that change requires courage, solidarity, and relentless advocacy. In telling the full story of the Tuskegee Airmen, we honor not only their achievements, but their struggle. We acknowledge the barriers they faced, the sacrifices they made, and the legacy they left behind. Their story is a mirror, reflecting both the promise and the failures of a nation. It challenges us to do better, to be better, and to ensure that future generations do not have to fight the same battles. The secrets of Tuskegee Airmen discrimination are not just historical facts, they are moral truths. They compel us to remember, to reckon, and to respond. They remind us that the fight for justice is ongoing, and that the courage of those who came before us must guide our path forward. In their story, we find not only pain and injustice, but hope, resilience, and the enduring power of the human spirit.